now watching the He Say She Say sports show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie Kai. What's happening, Brody?
Hey, how's it going, Ralph? It's good to see you. We had a great Super Bowl, man, so I'm ready to cook.
Right, right. Man, outside of the Super Bowl, how's your weekend?
My weekend was really good. I spent time with the family over this past weekend. I finally got a chance to see that live action Mulan
Oh, yeah.
movie. Yeah, man.
What'd you think of it?
Honestly, it was I like the fighting. I like
Yeah,
the fighting style. And for some reason I was like, you know what, this reminds me of a little bit of Jet Li's Fearless, some of the fighting moves.
right,
And
right.
then I like to watch the credits at the end of movies. And I found out that Jet Li actually participated in kind of, I guess, producing the movie of some sort,
Okay.
or he had some type of role in it. But overall, man, it was a pretty good movie. There were some things that I didn't like. Like I felt like some of the scenes were rushed.
Yeah.
But if you have nothing else to watch, I would definitely suggest it. You know, it's pretty cool. But other than that, my week has been good. Got my 2K in. Watched a lot of NBA games, NFL games. So,
Yeah.
I'm good.
I actually just recreated a player for my player, and me and the homie
Ooh.
was talking about getting together probably like an hour or two a day
Okay.
and practicing, getting to like at least once we get to like 88, 90, and then
Mm,
live streaming on Twitch, and then get a YouTube channel.
okay. I, s- I see you taking it down to the social medias, man. See me,
Hey,
I gotta put work in, man. I gotta put work into all my stuff, man. I be running sets, running plays, man. I do to have fun on 2K. What I like to do is I like to do historic teams. So I create my own custom league, my league, and then I put historic teams. I make sure there's no duplicates, right? And I just go at it, and then I make the quarters about 10-minute quarters, man. Yeah,
okay.
so yeah, so I'll be doing them 10-minute quarters, man. It take me like an hour to finish a game, but hey,
Gonna say
man,
all the stats, bro.
yeah,
What
yeah,
are
man.
the numbers?
I'm averaging like 35 and 5, bro. So come on, man. But anyway,
But speaking of 35 to 5, not just playing, it wasn't that bad. But 31 to 9, was bad
woo.
enough. After getting smacked in the Super Bowl, uh, in your mind or in your personal opinion, does this tarnish or do anything to Mahomes' reputation, or
Mhm.
because everybody pretty much had him fast tracked to being the GOAT?
Right, right. In my mind, personally, I feel like we pre-coordinate athletes in this era too prematurely. That's not to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes. I think, or I should say, I believe Patrick Mahomes is a tremendously skilled quarterback. I think he's a very good teammate, and he has a bright future. That being said, I feel like when you're talking about a goat conversation, it's all about the full body of work. And I feel like with Patrick Mahomes, they are really trying to accelerate him too quickly. Being the best quarterback in the NFL currently, though, that's nothing to shake your head at. So he'll definitely have an opportunity in the future to add to his legacy. That being said, I would like to take this time out to say that as being a Lamar Jackson fan, there's no hatred toward Patrick Mahomes for him beating us, a couple times. But I feel like there's a double standard in how the media likes to portray and paint narratives. All I heard after the Super Bowl was how he had linemen that were down, which was true, receivers and not catching the ball and all these things. But when Lamar went through that the whole entire season, it was his fault. But when Mahomes goes through it, it's not his fault. So we have to make sure that we keep the standards the same. I believe that when you're losing to a Tom Brady, there's no shame in losing to a Tom Brady. However, I would like to say one thing that I find interesting with Patrick Mahomes is he has yet to perform well in any of the Super Bowls that he's played in at a high performance. That's just facts. And so here I like to give facts over opinions, or when I base my opinions, I like to use facts to base my opinions. And I've found that if he goes up against a team, right, that has a front four that has good pass rushers, he tends to struggle. That happened last year versus the 49ers, and that also happened um, this year. But the difference between this year is they had a really good offense to back up with the defense, and they had athletic linebackers on top of that front four. So that's why I ultimately picked the Bucks to win the game. I didn't expect it to be a blowout based off our last show predictions. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see what teams in the AFC do moving forward. So what were your thoughts on the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes' legacy as a whole, man?
For me, this didn't really do much to hurt him. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I agree with you. This is like a second Super Bowl. He didn't like blow the top off,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like he played that bad
Right.
last year. In last year's Super Bowl, it's just how well we've seen him play versus how he played is mediocre. And
I
so
like that. I like that. Yeah.
like I don't think it's that bad. And then this one, regardless of if it's an excuse or not, like, and I'll bring it and I'll go deeper into it in the later on. But
Mm.
like to go up against a Shaq Barrett, a Vita
Mm.
Vea, and Dominican Sue and Jason Pierre-Paul, and then you have your starting left tackle and your right tackle out. I just feel like that's a tall order. And so I seen this stat, and it was like he ran for 497 yards
Yeah.
before passing the ball or getting sacked in the entirety of the game.
Running for his life, right?
And I was like, yo, if that ain't, you ain't never seen running for your life,
All right.
it's like I just feel like it's like a culmination of everything. Like the perfect example of just if you could watch one play and they wrap up how the game for him went is when he's running for his life, falls out, throws the ball while being parallel to the ground, like 30, 40 yards.
Yeah, wasn't he like
It hits homie in the face.
right?
And he drops it. And it's just like, yeah, it's like that right there is pretty much how the game went for him. So like I'm not gonna totally put this on him.
Mm-hmm.
I do think like to a certain degree, the refs were a little bit too involved in the game. Like for me, I just feel like that took the air out of them. And it's like there's certain instances where I think they were down 3-10, and then Brady throws a pick.
Yeah.
And then Brady throws a pick, but really it was a holding call, so they gave him the ball back. 2 plays later, he scored a touchdown.
Okay.
And
I
it's
know.
like
Yeah, I was
stuff,
like, you threw a
and it's
pick
like
in the
stuff.
game? See, like, yeah. I know what you're talking about
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like that right there, like
Mm-hmm.
that'll take the air out of you. So now
Right.
instead of you getting the ball with a chance to tie, now you're down by 14. Then 14,
Yeah.
then you being down by 14 turns into you being down by 21, and then it just never. It just
You're
never.
referring to momentum.
Yeah, momentum.
Right.
Yeah,
And you know what? I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I think my biggest thing or qualm is when people, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but when people always say refs. Now the refs, I believe there was 2 questionable calls,
yeah.
and one that just was a bad call. The one call where Mike Evans had his defender beat, right, and he tripped up, but the defender wasn't holding on to Mike Evans' leg, right, and the ball wasn't catchable. And then the egregious call in the end zone.
Yeah.
That being said, though, in totality of the game, though, that didn't stop the fact
No,
that the line couldn't block from him, the receivers
no,
couldn't,
not at all.
right.
Not at all.
So
But I do think that
yeah,
like stuff like that,
could
like
make it
a
momentum
defense,
shifts.
like the way that Matthews was charged up after that.
Yes.
It's if it's going in your way, now
Mm.
you don't look as like start questioning yourself in the decision you're making when you start looking stupid now that Tom Brady
Right.
moved the ball down the field.
Right.
But if I took the ball from you and I'm talking shit, then I'm like, all right, I get the ball back to my offense. And I think they're right around like the 40-yard line at this point.
Yeah, something like that. They had
so,
pretty
like,
good field position.
So then you would have had good field position to go try to tie it instead of I think the next possession. No, it was a possession earlier than that. Like the possession before that, it was them going. They were sitting on the 1-yard line because they got a stop on the 1-yard line.
Right.
And so it's like stuff like that will help your momentum in order for you to kind of get going. But if every time you try to get some momentum, you have Mike Evans pass interference where their feet just got tangled. And it's not even like homie grabbed him on the way down. He just fell.
Yeah.
And so
He wasn't like, come back.
Yeah, so it's like for me, man, like it was some stuff like that. Then to go along with it, like they just got played. They just got outplayed.
And that's kind of the stance that I took. Because I would like to preface, like, or should I say, I would like to move toward Devin White. Devin White's comments talking about, how he's like, yeah, we just play physical smash mouth football, man. Forget whatever else talking about. And that's when I looked at uh the Carolina Panthers versus Broncos Super Bowl. That's when I
Yeah,
look at the Legion of Boom
yeah.
versus the
Shoot, even
excuse
Peyton.
me, against the Broncos, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't mean to pick on Peyton. I know that's a guy, but I
Hey,
look at that
hey, they
and
got worked out, bro. There was
right,
no
right,
ifs, ands,
right.
buts about it.
And you're talking to a guy who's a fan of a team who's based off the smash mouth, physical defense in the Baltimore Ravens, and then a quarterback that he's used to running around with nothing else. So I felt like they did get outplayed, but I also believe in the lack thereof momentum. But Devin White guys, they were jamming Kelsey at the line.
It was
They were
flying
making
all
sure
over
the
the field, bro.
yeah. The offense was talking smack. And see, I know Ryan Jensen, the center for the Buccaneers, very well because he was our center. So, and I was upset that we wound up not being able to retain him. As you could see, the center woes that we endured. But it's not about the Ravens. This is not a show about the Ravens. But but so I knew the type of nasty that Ryan Jensen brings, and I don't think that the Chiefs were expecting that. And that's how you have to beat a team with speed. That's how you have to beat a team with flash. And so eventually, what they were able to do was they were able to psychologically get them off their game. And that's when you have the Tyreek Hills, you have the Tyrann Matthews of the world on the sideline, and they were just frustrated, coupled
Yeah,
with the fact that the refs didn't give them, any type of thing. But also, some of those calls you could also make the play devil's advocate and say home field advantage.
right,
Refs will be like, oh, let me pull that late flag.
right.
That's not really a flag or a questionable
Because
call.
that's what pisses me,
you know,
dog. Like
yeah,
if I'm walking off the field and then
hmm
you threw the flag, like fam,
right, yeah, facts,
I done took my helmet off, sat down. Now I look up, there's a flag on the ground. What you mean?
right, right, right,
When did you throw this flag? Because when I was on the field, there was nothing.
right. You wait 5 minutes till after the fact.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
homie over here, the head guy, he didn't already said first down Chiefs, like or fourth. And you
right,
talk about to giving them the ball back. Like
mm,
it was a couple calls that I was
yeah,
just like, like for real,
yeah,
like the pick play. Yeah, I get homie like grabbed him, but Mike Evans is stiff arming him too, and they're like trying to come out of his break. So I'm like, bro, they just let them play,
yeah. They got to let them play.
especially because I was talking about this with Tarian, and
Mhm.
like he brought up how the Chiefs. This is how the Chiefs play all season. So I was like, why wait? You didn't care when it was the Bills and it was Stephon Diggs they was grabbing.
Mm,
Now it's
mm,
now you're playing the Buck. You're playing the Bucks and it's Tom Brady on the other side. Now you calling a close game or a tight game,
right.
and it's like,
Uh,
bro, like this. It's making it made it to the point. Like I called Tari at halftime. I was like, yo, I'm not even enjoying this.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna go cook some wings now, man. Like,
Right. I was like, well, I was like, hey, at least my guy, the weekend,
yeah,
he gonna come through and save your boy.
right, right,
And I don't get like the hate that he got or like the people saying it wasn't a good performance. I'm just like, have
yeah,
you ever seen like a weekend performance? It's pretty much that.
yeah. The weekend. I was gonna mention. I'm glad we brought the weekend up. So I was talking to my father, and I told him I was like, so I'm on Twitter, right, during the halftime show, and the comedian, shout out to the kid Gowie, you know, I follow him on Twitter, and he had posted about, the weekend may be the closest to Michael Jackson in the booth, but as a performer, they're different. And I'm like, hold up, wait a second, I'm gonna let you slide that in there real quick. I said, in the booth, I was like, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, if not one of the biggest. Everyone's the biggest Michael Jackson fan there is. But don't compare him to Michael even in the booth, because I was like, and I love the weekend, but the weekend ain't even I'll be there, Michael Jackson with the afro now. You feel me? I'm like, hold up now. Michael been doing this since he was like 7 years old. But I like Starboy. I like the I like the the entertainment aspect of it, what he was trying to do with the walking through the maze and the memes and
Yeah.
and people with the jokes. I just think that the lack of him trying to dance him, or should I say him trying to dance was like, nah, bro, just sing.
Right.
you know. But I thought the weekend's performance was solid. It just didn't blow me away. It wasn't a Prince performance.
Right.
Um, it wasn't even a Beyonce performance, and I'm not a Beyonce type person, but I think it was solid. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm I'm gonna give it a 7 compared to some of the crappy Super Bowl performances that
Yeah.
we've seen in the past. What would you rate on a scale of 1 to 10, man?
I'd probably give it like a 6.5.
Okay, yeah, that's where I'm like six and a
Yeah,
half.
like a 6.5. Like it wasn't bad. Like I
Right,
would
right,
watch it.
yeah,
Like it's not like, man, they wasted my time.
right.
And so like I remember Lady Gaga when she performed
Oh yeah, like
for the
2 years ago.
and the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watched like a little bit of it. It was like,
Yeah.
yep, lost me. I'm finna go smoke break, smoke break.
Oh man. Yeah.
And so and I love Lady Gaga. So and she's a great performer.
Yeah, she can sing.
Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, I'm cool.
Right.
I'll hard pass
And
on.
also to our viewers. Okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna also to our viewers, me and Ralph are both people who are been involved and are continuing to be involved in music. I rap, he produces, has people that raps, works with artists. So when we give our music opinion, we're coming from a place of artistry. But remember, music is also subjective. But
Yeah.
we're just talking about the performance. So we don't want to receive any hate mail or hate comments at the.houseofhoops or at King Ralph. All right, guys.
Right.
Okay.
Facts.
So yeah.
It's like for
All
me, I
right.
seen people. It was like it was a lot. I actually got a lot of interaction as far as that one.
Mm,
I got between Facebook and Instagram. It was like normally I get about between the both of them. It's like 20 to 30, but it was like
okay.
60,
Okay.
60 to 70 votes
Ooh. Okay.
between the both of them, and it was
A nice little split.
it's a split. It was pretty much split down the middle. But on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, people it was more no's, and on Instagram it was more yeses. And so it's like some people liked it, some people didn't. But I was just like, for the weekend, I mean, and he put his own money into this. So
Was it 7 million, right?
yeah, he put $7 million of his own money into this performance. So
Yeah.
go do your thing, boy. Especially
Right.
because
Hey,
they
you.
robbed you. They robbed you at the Grammys, which is a whole other conversation that I would like to have soon on my other podcast. But
We'll get
yeah,
into that, man.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a. I think he did his thing, and I'm like, I look forward to it. I mean, I liked it. Um, to segue into the next part, did Tom Brady's performance was this of all the Super Bowls that he's done? Was this if you put a stamp on it, there's no way you can argue this man's the GOAT.
Yeah, there's no way you can argue that this man's the GOAT. I think this has put a stamp on it. Was it his best Super Bowl performance? In my opinion, no. Was it one of the more exciting performances? In my opinion, no. Was it a masterful performance outside like the first drive? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say, in my personal opinion, 28-3 was the most spectacular comeback I have seen in a Super Bowl on the grandest stage ever. And then I would like to turn to the Legion of Boom. The way he filleted that defense, right, in that fourth quarter was spectacular. So for me, this would probably be number 3 in my personal opinion, based off of who you're going against. But I always like to look at how tough the defense was. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like the Legion of Booms a little bit higher. But in terms of just him being locked in, the dude was all the way locked in. Like it was just, you know what I'm saying? Like he did his thing. He checked it to Fournette. He hit Gronkowski. One of my favorite things about Tom Brady is his pocket presence as well as his play action. He sells the play action very, very well with his
Yeah.
eyes. His little fakes that he did, the fake that he did on the play action, handoff to get it to Antonio Brown when Antonio Brown had a perfect release off the line,
Yeah.
went in and then went out. I thought that was masterful. So I think Tom Brady does a really good job at selling the play action, and he really pulled out play action a lot in this Super Bowl. So for me, I know people don't like blowouts, but it was just enjoyable to be able to see him kind of cap it off. I know he said he's going to come back, but just I wanted to appreciate greatness on Super Bowl night. So that's pretty much my sentiments on that.
Yeah, like for me, like I know what I said leading up to it, that if he won and he finished this gauntlet, that I would crown him the GOAT. But like,
Yeah, it's tough for you, isn't it, man?
it's not that it's tough. It's just like he went to the perfect situation. And so it's like for me, like it's not like all right. So if he was to go to like I seen this meme earlier today.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was like, if he was to go to the Cowboys and win them a Super Bowl, all right, cool.
Oh.
I'll get you. I'll say
Ooh,
you
yeah.
go.
Right.
But you went to a team that already had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, OJ Howard, and Ronald Jones II.
Yeah.
Then once you got there, you were able to get a Leonard Fournette and AB and Gronk to come back. But then on the defensive side, they already had they drafted Antoine Winfield Jr. They already had Levante David and Devin White. JPP, Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett had almost 20 sacks last year if it wasn't 20 sacks.
Correct.
And so like then Via and Ndamukong Suh in the middle. It's like, bro, at all three levels of the defense, y'all got studs. As much as they talked about the defense not being that good this year earlier in the year, I was like, I looked at their stats. They're probably like between the two, like no. And so from this point going to the rest of the segment for football, when I bring up defenses, I'm talking about. I looked up these, and I'm gonna mention the defenses that scoring. They were top 10 in scoring defense because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many yards you give up. How many points did you give up? Is how I look at it, and how many turnovers were you getting? And so like to watch them and how this defense was playing going into the Super Bowl. Plus, with the injuries that the Chiefs had, it's hard for me to look at it and be like, especially when it says this man ran 497 yards before passing the ball. I mean, this man was running for his life the entire game. And it's like, as great as the defense played, it's hard for me to be like, all right, well, how am I supposed to give Tom Brady for the credit for that?
Right.
When they shut down a high-powered offense like it was the Ravens versus the Giants.
Right.
And that Buccaneers defense is nowhere near that defense that the Ravens had. So it's like they just played an immaculate, perfect game. Shout out to Todd Bowles. You got to give Byron Leftwich his credit, and Bruce Arians, tip your hat off to him. Like they did it. It was a whole team effort. Plus the way that Tom Brady was able to move the ball down the field. And then once Tyrann Mathieu got him going, it was a wrap. He just was targeted, homie, after that. And I felt bad, low-key bad for him to a certain degree, but I was like, you put this on yourself, bro. Because if you know anything about Tom Brady, is that he's with it.
Yes.
He's like, oh, that's what y'all want to do? All right, cool. I mean,
Psycho Tom. We hear about it all the time.
To segue into this next part, as far as our top five, like when it comes to that, from a competitive standpoint, I don't think when it comes to you're putting together what you want your quarterback to have. It's like Jordan and Kobe with their competitiveness. It's another level.
Yeah.
And especially once you like how many stories have you heard people talking about like KG talking about, I was talking stuff to Jordan, and then after that it just felt like we was on defense the entire game.
Facts, man. Facts.
And so it's like, yeah, like with certain people, it's good to just not poke the bear, do your thing, play your game, and get up out of there. Like I'd rather not, because this man, because as much as I still to this day question whether or not he's the GOAT, people that play football and study football call this man the greatest. So
and that's the greatest.
I still wouldn't go out of my way and be like, nah, I don't think this man got it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the greatest compliment that you can have is the one that comes from your peers, because they're the ones that have to either see you or play you multiple times throughout the course of your career, and your peers see firsthand the evolution of you. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why he will always be the GOAT for me. But I did want to say real quick to your last point that you mentioned when you were talking about the Super Bowl and the defense, I'm actually going to go ahead and say it. I didn't think Tom Brady was the MVP of the Super Bowl. I know gas. Be like, who did you think it was? I actually thought Devin White, the guy that I predicted would be the Super Bowl MVP. I thought Devin White was the Super Bowl MVP in that game. I thought Tom Brady played a very good game, don't get me wrong. But I thought because as the leader of the defense and what the defense was able to do, and I thought rushing 4, dropping 7,
Yeah.
making hits, making plays, I thought Devin White could have won that Super Bowl MVP, but only 4 times the linebacker won it. I think 3 times a running back, 7 times somebody else, and then the other 30 was a quarterback, with Tom Brady now being 31st. So I
Right.
actually thought Devin White was the MVP of the Super Bowl. And the last point I was going to say was, don't be mad at Brady for going to the Bucks. Be mad
Oh
at
no.
Reggie White in free agency. So rest in peace, Reggie White. It's your fault for that for
Right.
that happening. But
I'm not
yeah,
mad
it's
at him because like
yeah, I know.
I compare it a lot to like
Yeah.
Peyton Manning when he went to the Broncos.
Oh, well, that's what I think. See, here's the thing, though. I don't even want to say it's a hot take. I'm pretty sure Brady studied that. He's like, yeah, why would I not do the same thing?
Right.
You feel me? Yeah, yeah. It's just that I feel like when we look at like Alex Smith, I always like to go to Alex Smith. Alex Smith had some of the similar weapons, but he was not as Brady, but Mahomes, whatever.
Yeah.
But we also know. Ask Jared Goff, ask Sean McVay. There's a cap at the quarterback position that certain quarterbacks, from a psychological and cerebral standpoint, are going to be good enough to push you over the edge. And so that's why I have to give Brady the credit, because I've seen many a mediocre quarterback have an embarrassment of riches and not do jack with it. So yeah. But that was
And
the
so
last point I was going to mention with that thing. So
so
yeah.
let's get into it then.
Yeah. All right. Top 5. Who's going first?
I go first. I mean, it doesn't matter
All
to me.
right. All right. You can go
So
first. Go first.
so with me, I'm gonna start at the bottom and I'm gonna go Brett Favre.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna work from 5 and work my way up. Brett Favre just is a Iron Man. The crazy things he was able to do, just that gunslinger mentality, as well as
Wait,
winning the Super Bowl.
crazy things like, never mind. I'm not going to mention it. No.
He did some wild stuff off the field, but like when you really think about it, outside of like Sterling Sharp when he first got there, or like um or like Donald Driver towards the end of his career, like really who was Brett Favre throwing the football to? And it was like people that was like Antonio Freeman was cool, but like they weren't like you in the time period of the wide receivers that they played, you wouldn't look at them and be like, oh, that guy was Tim Brown, Chris Carter, or even Jerry Rice.
Right, right.
And so I just think like from that standpoint, what he was able to do, as well as like he went to 2 Super Bowls and won one and lost to John Elway, which is, spoiler alert, higher on my list than this top 5.
Okay.
And so like for me going into that, like I'd really give that man credit. I shout out to him. I looked up. He really only had in the 2 Super Bowls that he went to, the one that he won was the worser defense.
Right.
And so like him losing to like a John Elway when they had Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp, Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey, and embarrassment of riches, and they had a top like 5 defense as well on that team.
Facts.
And so like them losing to that, I'm not gonna put that much against him, but everything that he was able to accomplish, top 5 in almost every statistical category, plus him playing for like almost 400 games straight, and while like the hits that he was taking and the way he was playing, I tip your hat off to that man. And then Dan Marino is 4.
Ooh, okay.
I just think the way he was throwing that ball, boy. It was smooth. But then the same thing. Like he was able to get to a Super Bowl, and that was the one time, like one of the few times he had like a top 10 defense 4 times in his whole career.
Yeah.
And then when you go and you think about it, who was Dan Marino throwing the ball to? I think his best receiver might have. I could be mixing it up because I don't remember if he played for the Lions or if he played for the Dolphins. But
Was it like Clayton or something? I think
Herman Moore, and then
yeah, Herman Moore did play for the Lions. Yeah, like '94.
But I don't remember if he played for the Dolphins.
With Marino.
But I know Marino didn't have like a top 10 wide receiver that you would anybody that pops in your head like, yo, that dude was a gamer.
Right.
And so just everything that he was able to do and just how good he was, like the one time they did have a good defense, he went to a Super Bowl, and that was like his rookie season or his second season in the league. And so from there, I'm gonna go to John Elway at 3.
Okay.
This man
Comeback kid.
This man went to 5 Super Bowls. And like for him, he did have a lot of success. I think of the 5 Super Bowls, only one of those wasn't a top 10 defense. I know for a fact it was at least 4. And so and because the 2 that he won, that team was stacked.
All right.
That was a hell of a team. That the 97 team and the 98 team. And so from there, just everything he was able to accomplish, just the he's what you will want from a mobile quarterback. If you want like a quarterback that's mobile, this is what this man should be able to do. And I think that Pat Mahomes will eventually surpass him. But because I think Pat Mahomes is John Elway with more talent.
More like throwing abilities.
More throwing ability. Yeah. Like the ability to throw off of different platforms and sidearms and no look passes. Like that man is insane. He'll eventually get up there, but he's not there now.
Okay.
And then we're gonna go to people gonna still be mad, but Tom Brady.
I knew it. Okay. I knew it.
Tom Brady.
I knew it, bro.
I can't do it.
No, it's fine.
Can't do it. Won't do it. But Tom Brady is number 2. Even after everything he's done, like honestly, bro, when I really went and looked at it, like all of his Super Bowls that he won, he had a top 10 defense. Or even the Super Bowls that he was in, he had a top 10 defense. And then it's like
by playoff time, they were top 10 at least.
Yeah.
Too,
I'm saying like so when I bring this up, I talk about the amount of points scored. Like they're
ranking, like by postseason.
Their ranking and the amount of points that they were giving up.
Right.
Was the lowest was 7. And so
that's crazy.
But they were giving up a lot of yards on some of those teams. Like I thought that like the first one that he won, that defense, they were giving up a lot of yards. But the second 2 that he won, those defense was like top 5 defenses at that in the league at that time. And so with him, I definitely will. It's really close with him and Peyton. For me, it's like 1A, 1B for me, honestly. It just depends on what you're looking for and what you like.
What you like,
Because for me, like Peyton was the offense, where like Tom Brady, to a certain degree, you could say Tom Brady's the offense for Tampa Bay because he brought in some of the things they were doing from New England. But he learned that from somebody to eventually get to this point, where it was like for majority of Peyton's prime, he was the offense,
right?
And when you really start thinking about it, like then to go on for Peyton, where his defenses, it wasn't like until he always had a good defense. It wasn't until he got to Denver. Prior to that, it was like six of his seasons that he played in the league where he had a good defense when it came to giving up points. Most of the other time, they were 31st and 20th. And so it's like when Tom Brady on his end is getting, like, let's just say, I didn't look up like the points. What was the points average? But let's just say if you're easily going, I'm gonna do 14 points versus 21 points or something like that. Like if you got to score a whole nother touchdown in order to win this game, it puts a lot more pressure on you than having to do where you can pretty much kind of game manage, and then at the end, like, all right, cool, give me the keys, I'm gonna rock out.
Right.
And so,
I feel you for that.
And that's pretty much what I think. Like with Tom Brady, I think he's the culmination of the perfect storm. And it's like he's definitely, because to say he's a game manager is disrespectful, but in his early part of his career, he was a game manager.
Yeah.
And then it was like, go win us the game. But he had the ability to do that based on his competitiveness and the way
psychological and all that.
Yeah, because then he'll get a safety to move this way for him to go back here when the safety knows that that's where he needs to go.
Yeah.
And so it's like that man is great, but Peyton was the offense. When Tom Brady tore his ACL and couldn't play, they still went like 11-5 or 10-6. They didn't make the playoffs, but they still went. That's like the anomaly. It wasn't until this season that you've seen multiple teams at 10-6, 11-5, and with the possibility of not making the playoffs.
Right, right, right.
Then then when Peyton doesn't play, the Colts get the number one pick and get Andrew Luck. So it's only so much. Like I get where because winning seven Super Bowls is immaculate. Like I can't sit
Right,
here and act like that's not something to like or that's something to sneeze about. So
right.
but Peyton's always gonna be my dude, just from
I
everything that
feel
he's
it.
able to do.
Yeah,
But that's my list.
I feel it. Just remember that people are gonna be hitting you up on LeBron versus MJ now and be like, wait a second, your case makes anyway. Let me stop. You see where I'm going with that? I'm like, oh
Yeah,
snap, no. But no, that I get it, bro. I get it, man. I get it. Different sports though, but interesting
right.
cases. Interesting cases. All right, so for mine, let me pull up my long list, my college thesis. No, I actually, I typed up and broke down my research as well. I for lists like this to remove any form of emotion, to remove any form of personal bias that I may have, because I do have a favorite quarterback in this list. My favorite quarterback of all time, once again, yes, is Lamar Jackson. Before that, it was Brett Favre. So Brett Favre is in my top five, but I had to set a criteria. So let's just get into it. My criteria, right, for my top five quarterbacks of all time is first skill set. With skill set, I like to look at things such as pocket presence, throwing ability, throwing accuracy. Then I'm looking at peak because anyone can play for a stretch of 15 years. Anyone can play for a stretch of 20 years. Not necessarily anyone, but longevity, right? I value peak over those things, right? How good were you at your best, at your peak? Then clutch ability, your ability to win games from behind, game-winning drives, things of that nature, clutch situations, um, weather, who knows what it is, right? And then your football IQ, because the quarterback position is the most cerebral and toughest position to play in, right? And when you're talking about those things, right? You're looking at okay, a cover zero, a cover one, when to check down, making adjustments at the line of scrimmage based off of the line protection, based off of what the defense is doing, right? There are certain quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers versus a Mike Zimmer or Steve Spagnuolo versus a Tom Brady. There are certain defensive coordinators that give certain quarterbacks trouble. So I really wanted to break those down in that criteria. So without further ado, I'm going to start off with my number one quarterback is Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady, from a skill set perspective, I believe Tom Brady can make all the throws that are needed. He doesn't necessarily make the flashy throws, but here it's about efficiency versus flash, right? So
Right.
Tom Brady's efficient. Then I'm looking at his pocket presence. He stands tall in the pocket. Devin White mentioned this. Frank Clark mentioned this about how he's able to shoulder roll, defenders off him. You think you got him and you don't really have him, right? So I think Tom Brady's pocket presence is always good, but I think his movement in the pocket is very underrated. And he doesn't, pat the ball a million different times and things like that nature.
Right.
I didn't even mention rings because, yes, rings are a team sport and performing at the highest level matters to me, but I'm just going off the criteria. Psychologically, he's already there. His peak, when he finally did get a Hall of Fame wide receiver, a true bona fide Hall of Fame wide receiver, in Randy Moss, he threw for 50 touchdowns, right? And then Randy Moss broke Jerry Rice's single season receiving touchdown record with 23. So Tom Brady, for me, he was there. We've seen what he's done in big games, game winning drives, et cetera, et cetera. Then number two, your boy Peyton Manning. Now I could mention quarterback rating. I could mention the Brock Osweiler thing. I could mention the snow thing, but there's no denying from a cerebral standpoint, there was no quarterback smarter in NFL history than Peyton Manning, period. He had Omaha, you know what I'm saying? He had different blitzes. He had Ray Lewis like, man, I'm changing my blitz protection and all this, different things. So Peyton Manning, I always called him the Jimmy Neutron of quarterbacks. He looked like Jimmy Neutron. He's a Jimmy Neutron of quarterbacks from a cerebral standpoint. Throw wise, he can make all the throws. Okay, and then we look at game-winning drives. Right now, let's see, Peyton Manning leads NFL history in game-winning drives, 54. So game-winning drive is pretty much anything from coming back in the fourth quarter, a minute to go, can be back um, back in the end zone. Peyton Manning has the most of those game-winning drives. And one of his greatest drives is the drives, or should I say comeback games, was against Tampa Bay. I think he
Yeah.
was down by like 20, 22 points, 23 points in the fourth quarter versus
Right.
the vaunted Tampa Bay defense with Warren Sapp,
Yeah.
Derek Brooks. So Peyton Manning, I have to give him his credit. And then number three, my third quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. So skill set, Aaron Rodgers is the most skilled quarterback I've ever seen. Mahomes, you can throw him in there as well. Aaron Rodgers, he has the passer rating record for the highest quarterback passer rating. Also, you got to look at MVPs. I believe he's won what was it, 2 MVPs already in the NFL. So his peak is very high in terms of the efficiency standpoint, touchdown to interception ratio.
Right.
And then my number four. Number four was hard. You either have Brett Favre or you have Dan Marino. Now, I want to preface my comments when I mentioned Dan Marino's a guy that played in the era where you leaned and you relied on the run game. Dan
Right.
Marino, if I ask somebody to name three of Dan Marino's teammates, can you name them? I personally can't do that. If I had to really, yes, I wasn't alive, but I had to research. We can name Sterling Sharp. We can name Jerry
I would.
Rice.
I would have to go. I would.
Yeah,
Everybody I would name would probably be defense. Honestly.
on the deep, yeah, or the defense or somebody like I can name Don Shula, but Don Shula's 72 Dolphins. Marino wasn't playing in 72 on the 72 Dolphins. He
Nah.
had one of the greatest peak seasons, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Brett Favre. Brett Favre, okay, he's 6 all time in game winning drives, 3 straight MVPs, back to back to back, 95, 96, 97, 2 straight Super Bowls, okay? Won one of them, and the other one he lost to the Broncos. But then I started to think about something, Ralph. I love Brett Favre, and I feel like he's the most topsy turvy quarterback. Some people rank him high, some people rank him 8 or 9,
Yeah.
kind of low. And I was like, when you look at game winning drives, how many of those game winning drives are results of Brett Favre throwing interceptions that put his team in a
Yeah.
position where he himself had to make a game winning drive?
Right.
Brett Favre, for me, has a longevity debate at the end of the day over Dan Marino. He
Right.
had one of the greatest quarterback seasons of all time at age 39 and age 40 with the
Right.
Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
But you know why he didn't win the Super Bowl or even make the Super Bowl? It was because it was
Still him.
him, right, that threw that interception to Darren Sharper. And so for that, I have to be fair, and I'm going to put Brett Favre, who has 3 consecutive MVPs, but did virtually nothing until that year he went to Minnesota, including losing a home field game. I think they were like 15-1. I think that year against Eli Manning at Lambeau Field. Let him come into his house and beat him. I had to hold that against Brett Favre. His last 2 playoff performances were not spectacular, so I'm going to put Dan Marino at 4 and Brett Favre at 5, and that is my top 5 quarterback rankings of all time. There we
And
go.
then, just so people know, I gotta show some love to my guy Warren Moon. He's my honorable mention.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
him as well as Drew Brees. But Warren Moon,
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm.
I don't. There's not too many people that threw a more beautiful pass
Yeah.
than Warren Moon, and I think we had to have Warren Moon in order to get to where we at now. Especially with it being Black History Month, I can't just not mention my man's.
Yeah.
Warren Moon was cold. I didn't really get to see much of him. Like pretty much everything I've ever seen of him is a what do you call it? A highlight tape.
Right.
Which is also where I tell people if you listen to this and watch this and you're like, wait, no Joe Montana? I didn't see him play, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Everybody that I have on my list, I have seen and watched in front of a TV live and watched these people play.
All right. And that's fair, man, because like people rather will respect you more for speaking on things that you've seen or things that you've really done extensive research with. With Joe Montana, you talk about free agency versus non-free agency with a Montana and Tom Brady debate. That's why I have Tom Brady ahead of Joe Montana. He played with an embarrassment of riches on both sides of the ball and had a running game, and so Ronnie Lott, Roger Craig, Dwight Clark, so Joe Montana, he was great, but I feel like the quarterback position has evolved far from Joe Montana,
Right.
and that's just me being 100, keeping it 100. Joe Montana might be number one, number two on someone else's list, but he's not in my personal top five. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, to go bring up transition into an NBA topic, um,
NBA.
is after the games that Vucevic had last week, Jokic going for 50, Embiid is on a tear.
Mm.
Um, Even Boogie had a little bit of a resurgence, showing you that he can still ball. To be seen whether or not he can do it consistently, but
Right.
he still got it in him. Shit, even AD to a certain degree, although he injured, we'll probably talk about that.
Achilles, yeah.
But is the big man back, or do you think it's just it had to evolve?
I think the big man has evolved. I don't think it's back because I don't think we're living in an era, or should I say, we're not living in an era where, okay, let me throw the ball into Embiid 50 times in a row. I think with the 76ers, yeah, sure, that's more of their offense in terms of utilizing Embiid because they don't have a choice because they have Jumbo Rondo, a.k.a. Ben Simmons. And
Right.
no disrespect to Rondo because Rondo can shoot. I'm talking about the old Rajon Rondo that couldn't
Yeah.
shoot.
Yeah.
You can't rely on him. And Tobias Harris ain't Kobe. So so I think you have to rely on Embiid, and I believe that we're seeing a lot more inflation in the era with pace and space. Pace and space. I cannot stress that enough. 50 points in today's game is not 50 points in 2006 and 2002. Period. It is not. Do not stare at the stat sheet. It will mess your head up. That being said, I believe that we're seeing more evolution in terms of bigs are making excellent passes. Now, not just outside the post, but on the perimeter. Look at
Yeah.
Jokic. Jokic, I'll put it to you like this, and I think I mentioned this in a earlier podcast at one point. Jokic passing, even though it's passing, it's almost like you're defending a third guy. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to worry about something else. It's like what they say what makes LeBron great
Right.
is the anticipation of the passing and knowing where guys are, his 3-point shooting. Now you have to leave the paint and run out to Embiid, run out to a Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Run out to an AD. So I think we're seeing more of an evolution of the big man and more responsibilities of the big man. So now they don't want you to just throw it in and let two dribbles. You know, even though, like Kareem said, the most efficient shot is the hook shot, being able to have it close to the basket, but bigs don't want to learn that and they're not stressing that. But I think we're learning the evolution in terms of it's an overall skill set of the big man. So that's kind of where I stand on that. What do you think?
I think that I think we're in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I still think at the end of the day, only it's a certain level of big man that you have to
Yeah.
be in order for you to really be able to push your team over the top. Where I think perimeter play is still going to be I think the Sixers will always have issues until Simmons can you would have to at least respect the jumper. The one thing I will say though that they have going for them this year, and I was watching All the Smoke. Shout out to All the Smoke. They had Doc
On
Rivers on
smoke.
there, and they were talking about how well he plays for Doc.
Mm.
And it was like his best season that he had was with the Clippers when Doc Rivers was there. And now
Okay.
if you've seen some of the games, like I want to say it was against the Lakers, it was him that hit the game winner against the Lakers.
Yes, it was that
And
one dribble
so
pull up.
and he was talking about he was like he said it was the first practice, and he blows the whistle, starts off everything. They swing the ball to Tobias, and he starts dribbling between his legs. And he
Mm.
was like, I blew the whistle so quick. It was like, what are you doing? That's not fair. And he was like, for me, it was just about pushing him to get back to what his game is. He was like, one
Right.
or two dribbles, get into the paint, or
Mm-hmm.
or find the open man. He was like, because a lot of people forget, like when he was at Tennessee, he was a post player, which is why he was able to come into the league and people were putting him at the four. Because on offense, you could play him at the four because he was a post player, but he also had the versatility to play the three. And really, his true position should be a three because he's an undersized four, but it works because you got Joel Embiid protecting everything in the paint.
Facts. Facts.
Plus, it puts another shooter on the court. So, like,
Yeah.
but to go back to the big man, I do think with that, I just think that it's dope to see, because I still feel like the end of the day, in order to really be able to have a versatile offense, you still got to be able to throw it to him.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be able to. You don't have to go down there and give it to him, give him 20 touches in the
Right.
paint,
Yeah.
because
Demand the
you're gonna be,
ball.
yeah. Unless y'all
Yeah.
can completely lock down the perimeter, you're gonna be at a disadvantage with how many threes that's being put up.
Facts.
And so, like, for me, I'm happy with where they are. Uh, I don't think that the big man really went anywhere. Honestly, I just think that it's a different way they're playing now.
Mm-hmm.
So the type of big man that we're used to seeing, we're just seeing a different type, and I think now it's being more socially acceptable, if you want to say.
Okay. I'm down with that. I'm definitely down with that.
And I think that a lot of it boils down to what KG actually ended up saying, and
Yes.
and what what do you think of those comments, or do you want to see? Do you want to read the quote? Because I think it would probably be easier for you instead.
Yeah, I can actually let's see if I can pull up the quote that you sent me here on that KG thing. All right, so here's what Kevin Garnett recently said that's been buzzing in the sports media regarding today's era. Kevin Garnett said, "I don't think guys from 20 years ago could play in this game." Garnett told the New York Times' Dave Marchese. 20 years ago, guys used their hands to control players. Now you can't use your hands. That makes defense damn near impossible. Can you imagine not hand checking Michael Jordan? No. The fact that you can't touch players gives the offensive player so much flexibility. Defensive players have to take angles away and stuff like that. But if you have any creativity and ambition, you can be a great offensive player in this league. Steph Curry revolutionized things with being able to shoot it from distance with such consistency, Garnett said. Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard, these guards changed the game. I don't know if even the guards from 20 or 30 years ago can play in this time right here. It's creative, it's competitive, it's saucy. You'll get dropped. An MFer will cross you over and break your ACL these days. The game is in a great place. All right. So here's kind of my perspective. And we talked about this off air. I do feel like and Kevin Garnett's older, and so that doesn't mean that all old heads hate on the new era. I feel like Kevin Garnett was speaking from a place where, okay, he doesn't want to come off as an old head. That's one. But I do believe that he does believe that the game is more skilled. I believe that he believes the game is more skilled, ball handling, players shooting the threes, etc. That being said, I believe that the IQ level, right, of the game isn't to par of the 90s, of the early 2000s, of the 80s and the 70s. Just period. Why? Because back then they really put emphasis on team ball, on passing, on patience, on what I call efficient offense. So when we look at a Kyrie Irving who's an efficient shooter, there's some such thing as called no wasted movements, no wasted dribbles. Efficiency isn't just shooting. It's about being able to make a move and boom, being
Right.
able to make this pass, anticipation. That's why, and one reason why, even though I'm not a huge LeBron guy, I'm a Kobe MJ guy. That's one of the reasons why LeBron is still able to dominate, not just physically. He's very efficient in terms of how he maneuvers on the court, moves, IQ, cerebral game. Michael Jordan, cerebral game. Um, Kobe Bryant was able to adapt in any offense, cerebral game. So there's certain characteristic traits, just like in social issues or things of that nature, generation, excuse me, that get passed down, and certain things get left in older generations that we should have. That's something that I feel like has gotten left. I feel like the IQ of the game is only the high IQ players is more minimal today than it was in the past. I think when we look at basketball training, it's not that older generations of players couldn't do some of these things. It's the fact that the training that we have now, they put more of an emphasis on it. For example, if you watch a basketball game today and you kind of look at Steph Curry, his dribbles, look, Isaiah Thomas, if he wanted to, he could do that. Steve
Right.
Francis could do those moves. It's like it's very methodical.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 and then boom. It's pretty much a behind the back 3 times crossover drive floater. They could do those things. It's just that the way they're using cone drills, the way you're seeing the better basketball hand infomercials on every highlight, it's
Right.
the training of it. So instead of that old school '90s to do, and
Right.
then cross, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Yeah, they have ball control. It's just that you're kind of maneuvering around it more agile
Right.
wise. You know what I'm saying? So I disagree with KG saying that players from 20 years ago, I don't think some of them could play in this era. Why? Because Kobe Bryant played in that era.
Right.
Tracy McGrady played in that era. You had a lot of different. Allen Iverson played in that era, right? And I think what it is just off IQ alone, you could play in any era. Larry Bird would eat in this era
Bro.
because Larry Bird could
I'm
play
tired of the
small.
disrespect Larry Bird
Right.
get.
Yeah, Larry Bird could play small forward, power forward. He did. He could shoot the three. He was an excellent passer. It's very cerebral. So I actually disagree with KG there. What I do agree with him is defensively, I've always felt like, and I'm not trying to knock MJ because I'm a huge MJ guy because Kobe was a mentor to MJ. But I've always said the bad boy Pistons, and this is kind of a testament, really. The bad boy Pistons, they weren't all that tough. They beat up MJ because I don't think they could ever guard MJ. So they beat him up. They weren't playing defense. They were
Right.
doing a physical massacre on MJ. No defense was being played. I think defense was being played in the 90s, though.
Right.
But even in the 90s, you were allowed to hand check. In the early 2000s, you were allowed to hand check. And so now you have the Kobe's, LeBrons, KDs of the world. You're living in an era where you can't hand check. And so while people are, oh, KG was giving all this praise to the new generation, they didn't see he was taking a subtle shot and shade toward the lack of defensive prowess that is presented every single night. And while we're seeing games of 140 points, and why there's still people that don't want to see the games because of that. So that's my sentiments without going too long winded. I think the IQ of the past was better. I think the skill is just more of their players being able to be more willed to do different things. And I think the defense of today's era sucks. If you don't believe me, ask John Wall. He did a Facebook Live of this last year where he said, it's so easy to score now. He's like, look at Trae Young. He's like, I'm not knocking Trae Young, but he's like, I can't touch him. They don't let you do anything. He's like, you have to be like 10 feet back. You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
defensive schemes, they're more elaborate. They're just not as elaborate as the offensive schemes.
Right.
So that's what I want to say. I'm gonna let you go, Ralph, and you can cook on this.
Yeah, and like I agree with a lot of what you said. Like for me, like I don't even pay attention to like the slight shade. I just think about it from like a
Yeah.
standpoint of I do like where it's at because it's still enjoyable basketball at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about it or LeBron
Mhm.
this, LeBron that, rig this, rig that. Um, I still think that like it's still a pleasure to watch the sport and watch the games. I think that like at first I was kind of like I don't really like it because it's some terrible shots I've seen taken, and I'm just like, fam, why
All
did you
right.
take that? Like that's not even your game.
Facts. Russell Westbrook.
Why are you doing pull up threes from the logo on a fast break? You don't even shoot. You don't even shoot like
Draymond
that
Green.
normally.
Draymond Green
Right.
last night. Yeah,
Bro.
there we go. See?
Exactly. 8 seconds left.
Ooh,
Like
there you
what
go.
you own, bro?
Exactly what we
And it's
talking
like
about.
little it's like stuff like that. It's like I 100% agree with you when it comes to like the IQ test and like I because I've definitely argued this. I was like I do think that like there's a certain level of IQ that's not there because kids are coming up watching certain players and they're emulating that, and then that
Right.
person like they're like, oh, I want to be like Russ, but it's like Russ's IQ is terrible,
Right.
and it's like even not that Steph has a bad IQ. I think he believes in his shot so much But a lot of those shots be trash. Those are
Yeah,
terrible shots. They just
yeah,
go in because it's Steph. And it's like there's on to a certain degree. It doesn't matter how much you practice that. It's still not. If you can't shoot, you just can't shoot.
right. They're not high percentile shots.
Yeah, you got to
You know.
take better percentage shots. So like for me, I
Yeah.
definitely get that point. I do think it's slight cap. I do understand like to a certain degree there are some players because like Lonzo,
Mm.
for instance, people look at Lonzo and think he's a bust.
Right. Right.
But if you were to take Lonzo and his skill set and put that in the 80s or 90s, he would be what you would want in your point guard.
Facts.
Play really tough defense, shoot the passing lanes, and set up the offense and get out the way.
Right.
And it's like we need you to get the ball to our playmakers and be a little bit of a playmaker. And so it's like I need you to be there and get the
The
ball to our
role.
scorers is what I meant, and be a little bit of a playmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, know
Define
your
role.
role. But it's like now there's so many like Derrick Rose, John Wall, Dame Lillard, Trae Young, Steph, Russ, Chris Paul, even to a certain degree, like people are coming into the league and they're already equipped with a jumper. Or like at least they have the ability to go score. And it's like there are more two guards masquerading as point guards. So now we look at that and it's like, well, why isn't Lonzo this? It's like, well, Lonzo's a prototypical point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm not here to try to defend this man because he does like he's way too inconsistent. But
Right.
I
Right.
think that to use that
Era
as an
matters.
example, if he was in another era, we probably wouldn't even really look at him the way that we do.
Easily. Yeah.
And so it's like stuff like that. I do think that like there's some players when you take that and put that in, like bring them here now, the ones that didn't have that jumper or didn't have the ability to go get you 20 to 30 a night.
Facts.
It's like but then it's like at the same time it kind of makes you think like how long ago did Andre Miller retire?
Yeah.
And he was still pretty successful.
Like 2012 or something like that.
Yeah, and he was still
Whatever it
pretty
was.
successful.
Yeah.
And he was
2013.
somebody that was known as, he about to shoot. All right, go get the rebound.
Right. Right. Yeah. Wasn't super athletic.
Right. But he would lead the league. He would be at least top 5 in assists.
Yeah. Every year.
Top 5, 10 in steals.
Could make smart decisions.
Make smart decisions. Had a high IQ.
Yep.
And had a pretty good career. So like I do think that like I see both sides and I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time I think it's slight cap.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But
a little bit of cap.
I think that's what you said is that he doesn't want to be known as the old head that's hating.
Right, right.
So I'm gonna give y'all a little bit too much praise to mask the fact that I don't want y'all to be thinking I'm hating when I give you when I give you this backhanded compliment because y'all niggas ain't playing no defense.
Because we know how KG is. I've seen him on Inside the NBA complain about stuff. So come on, bro.
Right.
Like I didn't. It's not like we didn't forget. That was just 2 years ago, KG. Come on now.
Right. But shoot, thank you all for watching. We're gonna get up out of here.
All right.
Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know what you thought. Go on YouTube as well. Search the He Say She Say Sports Show. He Say She Say is all one word.
You can see it below
as well. And then just let us know what you thought. And we'll holla at you. Bye.
All right. Peace.